ABC Sports presents the Professional Bowlers Tour. Last week, Dale Eagle won to reestablish his eligibility in the Firestone Tournament of Champions. Today, Firestone eligibility is at stake again as 5 bowlers compete in the Long Island Open. In 5th place, making his 2nd straight championship round appearance, Art Trask. In 4th place, making his 2nd appearance this year from Joliet, Illinois, the veteran Jim Stefanich. The winner of that match will meet our 3rd place qualifier, the defending champion of the Long Island Open from North Merrick, New York, Don Genalo. In 2nd place, making his 2nd championship round appearance this year, the colorful Ernie Schlegel. And finally, our tournament leader, the current president of the PBA from Chagrin Falls, Ohio, Mike Durbin. Yes, speaking of old friends, the Garden City Bowl is that. 22 years we've been coming here, and this year it is the 14th stop on a tour of 16 cities, which means that there is one left, one opportunity today, one next week for those who have not qualified for the Firestone Tournament of Champions. And we have Ernie Schlegel and Jim Stefanich who have to sort of become eligible again. We'll tell you more about that later, so it's a big show today and next week before the Firestone. The field today, what variety? Almost like the weather. They're a tremendous group with a lot of experience, and Nelson Burton Jr. knows all about them. So here he is to tell you what to expect today. Bo?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Chris, in the 22 years that this program's been on the air, 10 of them I've been here as announcer, 12 as a viewer, I've never seen a more experienced field. These players out here have won almost $2 million among them, and they also have won over 30 PBA titles, 34 to be exact. And what experience, and the great comeback of Stefanich in the first match. Art Trask, who needed a strike last week to win the tournament last week. The defending champion, Janello, is in there again. He knows the championship pair. Ernie Schlegel, he's ready to win again. And then the very, very tough 2-time Firestone champion, Durbin, on top.
Bo, you're an expert on lane conditions. Tell us about our championship pair.
Well, they're very versatile. Some of the players are playing the track, Chris, between the 2nd and 3rd arrow. Don Genalo, who knows the lanes very well, won the tournament there last year. He says he's going to play there this year. The other players are between the 1st arrow and the 2nd arrow, but it's a player who can keep it in the pocket. 3-pound, 6-ounce pins. They should be very easy to knock down if they can keep it solid.
Okay, Bo, we look forward to your commentary.
Okay, partner.
So, we'll be back now very, very soon as Art Trask, whom you saw last week, will go against that tremendous veteran, Hall of Famer Jim Stefanich. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Professional Bowlers Tour. This ABC Sports exclusive is brought to you by Sears, where you'll find great values, great service, and a great selection. You'll find the things that make life worthwhile, because there's more for your life at Sears. By Quaker State, made from Pennsylvania-grade crude oil. New and old cars, small and big cars, staying on the road with Quaker State. And by light beer from Miller, everything you've always wanted in a beer and less.
There they are, Art Trask on the right, 35 years old, from Fresno, California, and taking a seat now, Jim Stefanich, 42-year-old Hall of Famer from Joliet, Illinois. Here's Trask. Last week, well, top-seeded for the Fairlanes Open, and he lost to the eventual winner, Dale Eagle, 232 to 199. First shot, first match live. All right, in the pocket. Art Trask, 5 feet 11 inches tall, 172 pounds, 19 years a member of the PBA, 13 titles plus an All-Star, plus a Firestone. Wasn't that smooth, Nelson? Smooth as soap.
Chris, you're looking at the man that, in the generation of bowlers that came up when I came up, Sutar, Hardwick, and whatnot. Watch this beautiful profile of Stefanich. I thought this man was the best of all of us, all Hall of Famers. You're talking about Don Johnson, you're talking about Durbin, all of them. And then Steffi, when the urethane finishes came in the mid-70s, because he didn't have the ball speed, struggled quite a bit. Then he had a wrist injury that held him back, and now he's back on the tour, and he looks better than ever. Jim
Stefanich. Well, maybe he can do it again. when I say do it again, roll another 300 on television. Since I've missed all three, might as well happen today, Nelson.
Steffi can do it. This man can do it. What an experienced field today, Chris. It's going to be a bowling clinic for 90 minutes.
Strike up, shooting in the second frame, Trask. We have an even match after 2 frames in the Long Island Open as we replay a profile view of Trask.
Very similar to Stefanich, except Trask takes the 4-step delivery. Look at that locked arm swing, shoulder high delivery. Look at him drive through with his pivot step, good knee bend, extension straight through the shot, and naturally this result is a strike. Both players have started with a double.
Left lane. Fortunately, came up too high, and he's left the 6-7-10 early in the first match.
Art Trask with that just a little pull on that shot as he gets ready very quickly to shoot this 6-7-10. He goes right through the heart, gets no break by not knocking out the 7-pin with the 4. Across lane, he'll go for it.
Trying to get that 6-pin to come out of the pit and take out the 7. Didn't have the break he wanted, so it's an open frame after a double for Art Trask, and immediately Stefanich leads by 15. He has a double up, shooting in the third. Jim Stefanich. All right. Really socking them into the pocket. The man who this year in the Toledo Trust PBA National Championship in Toledo, he placed 4th, losing his first match to the eventual winner, Bob Chamberlain. On this pair, averaged 226 for the week, 215. Didn't come up, leaving the 2-7-8.
Stefanich playing that extreme outside line. Watch the ball right up in this area, and all of a sudden he gets it too far out over the foul line. You see it just go by the first arrow, hangs a little farther, and there we go. He has the 2-7-8. Chris, the best way to make it is shoot the 2-pin on the outside, drive it into the 7, let the ball take out the 8-pin.
Okay, let's see if Jim can do it. So now, each with an open frame, these veteran professionals bowling here at the Garden City Bowl on New York's Long Island will return to this garden spot after this. The fading cheers were for Art Trask, who marked with a strike in the 5th frame. But in the 4th, while we were away, he left the 4-6-7. Left the 6 standing, his second open frame, but came back with a strike. And Stefanich, after an open, comes up high and leaves the 3-9 on the right lane. So, Bo, we're getting some interesting leaves here today.
Chris, after an opening great 3 frames for Stefanich, he kind of hung in the ball in the 4th. Art Trask had started with a double, and then he pulled the next 2 balls high to get splits. So from a very fast start, the action has slowed down a little bit to some spare making, and who can stay close?
PBA Hall of Fame in 1980, this 42-year-old. That's it. Speaking of age and proving the adage that many a good tune has been played on an old violin, our 6th place finisher, or the alternate today, is 50-year-old Carmen Salvino of Chicago. Bowling great. All right, now, Stefanich, a 1-handicap golfer, right there. High hit, he left the 3-6. And Bo, to prove his golf skills, ABC Sales in Chicago has an annual tournament. He's won it a couple of times with rounds of 68. So he's great.
Excellent discipline on the golf course and excellent in the bowling lane, except that one there, he just turned the ball a little too quickly on the downstroke, breaks high, breaks up the split. He leaves the 3-6 across lane. Steffi, a great spare shooter.
Like that. Most all professional golfers enjoy the game of golf when they're not on the lanes, and here's one that had a little accident. Oh, there's an ace bandage under that glove type affair that Art Trask is wearing, because it tried to hit a ball on the golf course with a 2-iron and hit the root of a tree. Well, the club stuck and his wrist went on, so it's caused him some problems. 3-6.
Has the same shot that Stefanich had on the last frame. Art looking down at the approach. You have to make the adjustment to the left if you continue to go high. Art was solid in the first and second frames, went high in the third and fourth. He was solid on the left-hand lane in the fifth, but here he is high again in the sixth.
Art Trask, his first TV appearance was way back in 1975, and his first win came in 1982. 2 weeks later, he won the True Value Open. And then Cleveland.
Art using a urethane bowling ball, Stefanich the polyester bowling ball. And there's the great Carmen Salvino, Chris, 50 years old, as you say, making a comeback. He hurt his shoulder in a exhibition match over in Japan, and he said he had to bowl for another 10 days with that injured shoulder and set him back about a year.
Lovely pocket hit by Art Trask. We're in our first match here at the Garden City Bowl in Long Island. Trask trailing by 19. The leader is Jim Stefanich. More of this match following this word. Don't miss classy Jeff Chandler, 10th title defense, Bantamweight Championship of the World against undefeated Richard Sandoval. Here's a defending champion of the Long Island Open from North Merrick, Long Island, Don Genalo. He'll meet the winner of our first match, which is going down the stretch now between Jim Stefanich, leading by 19, a spare up shooting in the 7th frame. His opponent, Art Trask. Let's get a low angle view of that stroke.
Semi-spinner that Stefanich rolls just about 2 inches outside the thumb hole. You see just an ideal shot as the ball hits the 1, 3, 5, and 9. Stefanich, a beautiful blend of power and accuracy, and take a commanding 29-pin lead with a double here in the 8th.
Steady head, Jim Stefanich. Four-pin.
Oh, he leaned on that one, Chris. You see him want to get a little more on the ball, and I've watched him hit that tremendous tee shot that he always hits, and you can see his hair move just a little bit as he flips that wrist through the ball. See him pull right through there. Just snap that wrist around the ball, and he leaves the 4-pin. If he hadn't caught so much hook, he might have knocked it out.
He's cashed in 8 of the 11 tournaments he's competed in this year. And that style never falters. Classic. Even in shooting a single pin. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Here's Mr. Consistency of the Pro Bowlers Tour for the last couple of years. Art Trask, a tough opponent all the time, keeps the ball in play. Remember last week he was a tournament leader on extremely slick lane condition. This week he's right up there in the top 5 again on a lane condition, hooks quite a bit more. So he's a versatile player, has a hot hand.
Full approach. Flush in the pocket for Art Trask of Fresno, California.
What a nice shot. You see that semi-spinner that Art Trask rolls. He drives all 10 pins into the pit. Look at that ball. A little more hook than Stefanich features on the same shot. But both have done a nice job. Right now, Trask with a strike in the 9th frame could take the lead for the first time. You see, he started with a double, then went high in the 3rd and 4th frames. Recovered with a strike in the 5th, went high in the 6th. And then the 7th and 8th, he has lined up his feet as he's taking a little extra time here. He lined up his feet, he's zeroed in, and now he can take the lead here in the 9th frame.
Asking for a re-rack, and communications going to the rear of the lanes. And some fan. Well, there's always a direct audio link. It works, doesn't it? Okay.
Let's just hope they're on spot this time. Look at Art signaling the crowd. He's
only in New York, Bo, I'll tell you, having lived here for a quarter of a century, but only in New York.
They can always get the job done. Big shot for Trask here. He can take the lead with another strike.
In a heavy downpour, I'd like to have that fella trying to hail a cab for me. He'd get one. Leaving a 6-pin on the left lane, Art Trask.
Art Trask trying to play that first arrow angle. You see the first arrow right here. Now watch the ball just go slightly inside the first arrow. You see it right about a board inside the first arrow. The result right up through the nose. When he splits the first arrow in half with a good execution, he gets solid in the pocket. Needs the spare to stay in the match. It'll only be a 10-pin difference. Anybody can win.
All this at the Garden City Bowl in Long Island.
Very quickly, Stefanich up on the approach, not taking any time at all. He's got his mind set. He knows he can shut out Trask with 3 strikes. Let's see what happens.
Crossing over, leaving the 3-6-10.
Just trying to cozy that ball up there, Chris. They're not leaning back and putting each other away. Trask with a golden opportunity in the 9th, and here's Stefanich with an opportunity in the 9th also. Eases back on the speed, up through the heart. 3-6-10. He needs to convert this to stay ahead in the match.
Awfully close.
Good lesson to be learned on that shot, Chris. With a polyurethane finish that where you have on the lanes here, you can play that outside line and hope the ball comes back. But if you bowl on a water-based finish or a lacquer finish, such as we used at the EMF Angle Tournament at Dick Weber's lanes, you can't use that shot because it's too slick outside. The graphic tells the score. 2 strikes and a 4 count. Stefanich is a winner. If not, Trask can throw a double to win.
That was his Sunday punch. Needs another one. You professionals are amazing, Bo. When you have to do something, 90% of the time you do it. Boom.
Chris, the man has such great form, and he maintained it under pressure that time. Everybody's nervous when they stand up there with that bowling ball. Stefanich just performed as well as anybody possibly could. Laid both balls solid in the pocket. Just keep it on the lane, and he's the winner.
Closing out with a 3-bagger. Hall of Famer Jim Stefanich has defeated Art Trask and now meets Don Genalo. The Professional Bowlers Tour will continue after this message and a word from our local stations. Here at the Garden City Bowl, Jim Stefanich, 7 strikes, 210 to Art Trask, 191. Trask leaves. Stepping in the defending champion from nearby North Merrick, Long Island, Don Genalo, who last year had a kidney removed. We asked him earlier how it affected his bowling.
Well, we found out that my right kidney was not functioning, and the doctors decided last year that it was about time it came out. We had the operation in August. I came back this year. I'm off to a slow start, but health-wise, I feel fine.
And we're happy for that. Young Don Genalo, 26, will be shooting first, having finished 3rd in our tournament. The winner of this, our 2nd game, will go on to meet colorful Ernie Schlegel of Vancouver, USA, and then the tournament leader, Mike Durbin. Listen to those hometown fans for Don Genalo. Janello, winner of 2 championships. 14 for this man. keeping even. And Bo indicating that he had to win in order to re-qualify for the Firestone.
Chris, Jimmy just dropped off the tour for a couple years because of that wrist injury that he had in 1980 that laid him out almost 2 years. He returned this year, and he has to either regain his Touring 1 status because he's a 10-time champion, a multiple champion, or win a title. So he can get back in the Firestone next year without a win, but he has to win to get in for 2 weeks from now.
Big double. What a memorable Firestone victory he had against Don Johnson in a 2-frame roll-off. One we'll always remember, Nelson.
One of the greatest matches of all time. Here's the only member of today's group of 5 that's under the age of 40. Don Genalo, age 26.
So we continue to stay even in our head-to-head as we look at a profile view.
5-step delivery, classic style. Look at that left arm holding that right shoulder even, and then the right shoulder rotating in the shot, elbow underneath it, hand underneath the ball, deep follow through, and he holds it all the way down. This man has had a great year last year, but he has a tremendous future.
He left the 7-pin. From behind now, we replay his stroke.
You see Don Genalo just a little farther inside on the pair of lanes than the other players. He's right around the second arrow between the first and second, and he throws a little more hook, sends it wide, almost gets the 7-pin with the head pin off the sideboard.
Right now, Jim Stefanich, who started out strong in his first match, which he eventually won over Art Trask, 210 to 191. Shooting in the third, double up. Three in a row.
Boy, has he loosened up, Chris. You can see it in the stroke, just nice and smooth and easy. And you know, in 1968, he won the U.S. Opener as a former All-Star right here in this bowling center. It was one of the greatest performances I ever saw in the sport of bowling. 56 games, Stefanich never bowled a game under 200. What a performance. He lapped the field.
All but the 2-pin, and he's satisfied with that. Fans here very appreciative. Long Island is a bowling hotbed in the New York City area, and we always have limited seating in the bowling establishments around the country, which is a pity. But there are around 600 here, standing room only crowd, watching. All right. Jim Stefanich, winner of the first game, continues to mark as he is in his second match, this one against Don Genalo. More action following this.
Next Saturday, the Professional Bowlers Tour continues its East Coast Tour in Windsor Locks, Connecticut, for the $115,000 Greater Hartford Open. Last year's champion, Tom Milton, will attempt to defend his title against the top field. Join us next Saturday for the Professional Bowlers Tour on ABC.
Next week here on ABC, finals of the Greater Hartford Open, Windsor Locks, Connecticut. Then, April 21st, finals of the Firestone Tournament of Champions, ending our 16-week winter tour. But, a little hiatus, and then May 19th, the Seattle Open, followed by the Denver Open, Tucson, moving on to Southern California Open in Riverside, and then to Las Vegas for the Showboat PBA Doubles Classic. Lots of bowling still here on ABC.
Chris, the strategy that Janello uses on the championship pair, this is where he learned to bowl. He knows every board in this pair of lanes. He plays them a little farther inside or the track area. You see what he says between the second and third arrows. He's just outside the second arrow right now. And when he gets zeroed, he's very tough.
Hometown boy who made good last year in winning this event. Only trailing by 10, can even it up now with a strike coming up in the 5th frame. Classic bowlers, even classic appearance with their gray flannels, Bo, and navy blue shirts.
Janello, an excellent player, Chris. In college, he was the all-events champion in 1977 and finished 4th in the national singles.
And the man that went to Robert Morris College in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area has left the 10-pin.
The man with a degree in computer science, a first solid tap of the whole match, Chris, as you see his ball just go outside the second arrow. Now watch the 6-pin. That's the second pin on the right-hand part of your screen. Just fly around the 10 as Janello goes very quickly.
Quick acknowledgement to his fans as Ernie Schlegel and Mike Durbin continue to warm up off to the right. Occasionally you hear some pin fall. It's from their bowling balls. Oh, yes. And if you just joined us, Jim Stefanich defeated Art Trask in the first match, 210 to 191. Jim opened with a 3-bagger marked with a spare, as you see, and now a strike here in the 5th. And increase his lead to 20 with a strike here on the left lane. .36.
He's been high and then light on the left-hand lane. That seems to be the key lane for Stefanich. As you see this outside line, he's playing right near the channel. Comes through the ball, a little early turn, the ball cuts through and leaves the 3-6. And there's a little separation in there this time, Chris. It's going to be a little more difficult to make. Cross lane, a little extra speed.
Hits it. Now Janello is quickly up. He's 6'1", weighs 150 pounds. Says he feels great following the removal of his right kidney. Hanging in there tough. Good second match here. Winner to meet Ernie Schlegel.
When you have the type of talent that we have in the championship round today, disciplined players, they have a good combination between accuracy and power, tremendous concentration and experience. You're going to have all close matches. Right now, Janello can throw a strike and it'll be all even.
Things are level here at Garden City Bowl. All even in our second match. More of it coming up, but first, this word from one of our sponsors. Wide World next. Boxing, weightlifting, and a salute to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Salute to Don Genalo's family.
Chris, a great family on the left. His brother Larry, his aunt in the middle, and his brother Joe on the right. A good left-handed bowler in his own right, of course, rooting for their brother Don, who is the defending champion in an all-even match. Stefanich coming up in the 7th frame, spare working. 3 frames to see what happens. Right to go on to meet Ernie Schlegel.
Exactly what he wanted. Jim Stefanich.
Big shot coming up for Steffi. And watch how he kind of cocks his head, Chris, as he starts out. It reminds me of when he hits a golf ball. He hits a big tee ball off the tee, 280 to 300 yards, and he cocks his head the same way as before he gets into the ball. Now watch how he sets up here. Now watch his head cock to that right. There it goes.
Left the 2-pin on the left lane. Player of the year. Way back in 1968 when he won 5 tournaments, was the leading money winner.
Steffi, trust is a must or your game is a busty, but he sends it just a little bit too wide. Watch the ball out on about the 2nd board. He had been down the 3rd and 4th board earlier. Head pin goes to sideboard, knocks out the 4 and 8, leaves an easy spare.
Nelson, right here, I want to acknowledge a high compliment to this series, the tour, the bowlers, and everybody involved. 4 of our directors, producers, and/or have come back here to see us. Bob Goodrich, Jim Jeanette, John DeLisa, Dick Buffington. Isn't it great to see them again? I think they'd still like to be doing the show.
Well, they're on hand to watch. Great crew.
All right. Don Genalo. But in control in our truck, Joel Felder, producer, and Norm Samet, the director. In fact, Joel's dad, George, is here today, checking his son out.
With that kind of crew on hand and the Janello family behind him, Don Genalo can really put the clamps on Stefanich. He leads by 10. With another strike, he'd have a 20-pin lead. Ninth frame.
Reaching for that four-bagger. Adrenaline really going now. You can see in his eyes, Don Genalo. That's Jim Stefanich, who has a spare up now, shooting in the ninth frame.
Janello going at a 239 pace. Stefanich has a possible 239.
All but the 6-pin. Spare in the ninth, Jim Stefanich, but he's in against red-hot Don Genalo.
The job for Stefanich is throw a double in the 10th, end up with 220 game, and force Janello to mark. If Steffi doesn't strike here, it's just about all he can hope for, is to get out of the match with a 4th place check.
Well, one big victory in the first game, 210 to 191 over Art Trask for Jim Stefanich.
Steffi, the most he can hope for is 217. Janello going at a 239 pace. Chris, Janello has to keep it on the lane, but remember the match he had 2 years ago where he got a 5-pin count in the 10th and threw it away, so it can still happen.
That's right. It was in the Southern California Open, losing to Jimmy Fritz, 214 to 212.
But I'm sure that Janello has learned to check the scoreboard. There you see the hands of Don Genalo. I'd like to see his eyes looking to the left or right to check that score. Well, I think he's just thinking about throwing a strike. Concentration.
Well-deserved round of applause for Jim Stefanich, who left the 2-5, fires a 215. Don Genalo, of course, has not completed.
He just went over and checked the scoreboard,
Yeah.
Chris. He needs 6 pins. Checks with Harry Smith, the official scorer and our national tournament director for this tournament. 6 pins on the first ball.
That's them all. He will meet Ernie Schlegel. Meanwhile, Jim Stefanich gets $5,000. Loser of the first match, Art Trask, $4,000. Hometown fans for Don Genalo. Now it's Ernie Schlegel as the opponent. Back again at Garden City Bowl. A tremendous performance. Hometown product, Don Genalo. 10 strikes, 259. Jim Stefanich, 215. Okay, time now for Bo Burton's Rollade's Tip of the Week. It's an answer to not often asked question, but the answer is important to you. Watch and listen.
The Professional Bowler's Tip of the Week is brought to you by Rolade.
Today's bowling tip involves knowing your playing rules. Watch this shot closely and you determine if it's a legal delivery and the pinfall should count. Did you watch that shot closely? If you didn't, here's a hint. Watch again, and I'll be right back with the answer. If your answer was the strike counted, you were correct. Also, if your answer was it was an illegal shot, you were also correct. Sounds like a paradox? Well, it is, because ABC playing rule number 35 says that you can make a delivery and get credited for a strike and still use illegal shoes or alter the approaches. What happened? I was wearing tennis shoes. I left rubber marks on the approach. Now I must change these shoes before I can make another shot if the team that I'm playing against requests that I do so. So if you said strike, you were right. If you said illegal, you were also correct.
You're looking at 40-year-old Ernie Schlegel, who will next meet Don Genalo, but he is practicing right now. And while that goes on, we had a chance earlier to ask him this question. You look more relaxed, and you're bowling quicker. Has it helped?
Well, look, in Miami, I spoke to a good friend of mine, Harry Smith, and he told me that going slow was tightening up my muscles, and that if I could just get a little quicker, that it would enhance my game. And he just told me, make believe it's a hot potato, 1, 2, 3, go. And I've been practicing ever since, and now it seems to be more relaxed, and I've been going a lot quicker. I like it.
The man that would like to become eligible in the Firestone again. That's another practice shot. We're at the Long Island Open Garden City Bowl. Total of 115,000. 16 to the winner today. 82.50 second. 6,000 to the loser of the match coming up. And Stefanich won 5,000. Art Trask won 4 today.
Chris, and if Ernie Schlegel goes on to win the title and become eligible for the Firestone once again, he would knock out David Houston, who is 52nd in the field at the Firestone, coming up in 2 weeks.
Vancouver, USA, the state of Washington.
Ernie Schlegel using a bright red urethane ball, and his opponent Don Genalo a kind of subdued deep blue urethane ball. Ernie going much quicker.
Smooth release at the line. Schlegel. This is probably as quick as you've ever seen Schlegel, who's been a PBA member 18 years with 2 victories. Took him a long time to get the first, while 26-year-old Don Genalo, PBA member 3 years with 2 titles. It's in the right-hand lane, a good one for him.
Has not missed.
Leaving the 10.
It's been right in the pocket. He's only had 2 taps so far today, and when he won the King Louis in 1982, he had a 91% pocket percentage. In other words, almost every time he hit the pocket, 9 out of 10, he struck. So far today, he's almost been 85%. He's hit the pocket 13 times, has only missed striking 3.
So it's a spare for Janello, who bowled a .259 with 10 strikes in his victory over Jim Stefanich, who shot a .215. Gray-haired gentleman right there at the bottom of your screen. 93-year-old Andy Vera Papa.
Bowling's first professional, Chris. He toured the country before anybody knew what touring professionals were. Andy Vera Papa, an all-time great.
Janello. Back in the groove. There's Andy, who's proud of the fact that is his hair. He has his teeth. Isn't that something? 93 years of age, March 31st.
And he has his wit and his strength. When he grabs a hold of your hand, he's got a pair of paws on him.
My dad took me to an exhibition when I was 11 years old in Wabash, Indiana, Bo. That's when I first saw him.
Well, that wasn't too far back, though.
No, recently. All right.
The crowd oohs and ahs. A disappointed Schlegel. An excellent shot here as you see Ernie's form. He takes a nice big first step, then a 4-step delivery after that. A little higher arm swings than some of the other players. Good knee bend. Releases the ball smoothly at the foul line. Excellent follow through. That's the best I've seen him look, Chris.
Red may be his color. All right.
Well, it's kind of a hometown battle, Chris. You know, Ernie's originally from this area. Don Genalo grew up in this area, and there's a lot of family ties back there in the stands rooting one way or another. There's Catherine DuPage Schlegel, Ernie's wife, and I'm sure I know who she's rooting for. Well, Ernie quickly changed his name there. Even match.
Knew it was going to be high, leaving the 3-6. Does a lot of talking to himself.
There's a lot of experience in this player. As you see that outside line that Ernie's playing, he's playing right out here around the first arrow. As he goes through the ball is cut a little high. It's the 3-6. We saw Stefanich leave that twice, converted both times. Should be a routine spare for Schlegel.
Ernie's best year was 1980 when he won his only 2 titles, ending a 12-year famine as a PBA member without a title. When he won the King Louis Open, then he won the City of Roses Open in Portland.
Fingertip grip for Janello. See that wide span, tips of the fingers just barely in the ball.
Oh, a lovely love tap. 6-pin on the 10, and it's a double for Janello.
What a great break Don Genalo gets. And of course, he's playing more what we call the track area around the second arrow. He hits light, bows the 5 out. Here's the 6-pin laying in the channel, takes out the 10. What a difference. If he converts that strike right now, it'll be a 20-pin difference, Chris, instead of leaving the 10-pin.
High hit. 3-6.
Looks down at the approach, but he just barely pulled that ball. There's not much room for error out there on the lanes. If you make a smooth stroke between the second arrow and the first arrow, you seem to get a good result. But if you try to help it, it either goes high or light.
Don Genalo leading by 10 in the semifinal match. The winner to meet tournament leader Mike Durbin. More of this match after this. 6-frame Ernie Schlegel. In the 5th, while we were away, a strike on the right lane. Now on the left lane.
Yeah!
All but the 7.
Boy, Schlegel disappointed. He threw a great shot in the 2nd frame. He thought he had a double, and a really super shot here in the 5th frame. Both of them he left the 7-pin on, and he could have been ahead in the match, or with that strike would have been even. He really looks good, Chris. That speeding up has helped his game quite a bit. Win or lose this match, he's an improved player.
Good average on this championship pair of 237.
Catherine Schlegel, who bowled in a special charity pro-am with Don Genalo, Ernie's opponent, last week up in Schenectady, and Don Genalo gave Catherine, her partner, a 300 game. I don't think that Catherine wants to see him bowl quite that well against her husband, though.
And the roof caved in. 4, 6, 7, 10.
Just a little soft. Janello throws the biggest hook of all 5 players in the championship round. It cuts right through the heart. Doesn't get a single break from any of the other pins. The best he can do is just go for 2 pins and save the count.
Remember, Don Genalo defeated Jim Stefanich 259 to 215 in the previous match. And now he is trailing by 6. Those open frames. Pros do it so often, following an open, a strike like this.
Janello right around the 2nd arrow. You see the ball passing right by there and gets a really good break. 2 pin to the sideboard, trips out the 4-7. Bad break he got in the 5th was made up by a good break in the 6th. Schlegel now has the lead by 6 pins, 6 frame.
Spare working. But he'll take it.
As we always call that on the tour, an RBF, Chris. Watch this. What we call is a reverse blowing 5. Instead of the ball knocking the head pin out, the 3-pin actually took it out. The ball hit so weakly going on the left side. Haven't seen an RBF for a few years, but there it is. Schlegel, a great break. Remember, he had a bad break in the second, a bad break in the fifth, and now he's made up for it with a great break in the sixth. The match is still up for grabs. Both players have strikes working.
See what he does following that re-rack. He fired up. As hot as that red outfit and the bowling ball. Ernie Schlegel leading by 16 in the semifinal match in the Long Island Open. We'll be back. To prove that seemingly placid bowlers do get excited, watch this. Schlegel following a crossover strike. And he followed that up with another reaction. And Ernie saw the replay on one of the monitors. That really has him loose.
Chris, that's just a great turnaround for Ernie Schlegel. I like to see his true personality come through on television. He's a great winner and a great champion going against a young up-and-coming champion, two-time champion. Don Genalo needs a strike to cut Schlegel's lead down to just 6 pins.
Key double for Janello here in the semifinal match with the winner to meet Mike Durbin for the title and the money. He is tough. He'll be shooting in the 8th frame next.
Chance to retake the lead. Has a double working. If he can make it a turkey, he'll have a 4-pin lead over Schlegel through the 8th frame. Look at that eyes. Look at the concentration.
Fans loving it here, and we hope wherever you are that you're enjoying the action. Greatest professional bowlers in the world on our 14th week in our 23rd year of the Professional Bowlers Tour telecasts.
Little psyching going on out there. Janello can't psych out Schlegel. Schlegel's been around. He's bowled in every place there probably has been in the world against every type of bowler. But he needs a strike here to regain the lead. Back at Janello, Chris. Right back in his face. A lot of money at stake.
So there, huh? Yeah, you lose in this match, you get 6,000. If you win, look at that hand. Boy, he's really milking it for all it's worth.
Saying, come on. Headpin went to the sideboard, drove out the 4, 5, 7. Now we're down to the key 9th and 10th frame. Schlegel with a lead. He has a turkey working. Janello has a turkey working. A lot of money at stake, especially for Schlegel, who needs to regain eligibility to the Firestone.
Vocal, demonstrative, Ernie Schlegel. Calm, Catherine Schlegel. Now watch Janello. He's got a 3-bagger shooting in the 9th frame in a great match. Pesky 10.
The half 10. He could have used that love tap out of the pit, Chris, like he got there in the 3rd frame. Not to be. Left it in the 9th. Right now, he needs to convert this spare to stay in the match with Schlegel. Can still win.
With plenty of time, not careless at all, and marking with a spare. Don't forget, the winner of this match will meet most recent electee into the PBA Hall of Fame, Mike Durbin, for the Long Island title.
Janello with a double would first force Ernie Schlegel to mark.
Hard to believe. 7-10 coming at this point of the match.
It's all over, Chris. Janello cuts right through the heart, leaves the 7-10 split. The best he can bowl is 198. Ernie Schlegel just has to keep it on the lane.
So, coming up next, it'll be Ernie Schlegel going against the tournament leader for the title, Mike Durbin. The Professional Bowlers Show will continue after this message. These fans at the Garden City Bowl await the start of the championship match. Ernie Schlegel against the tournament leader, Mike Durbin. WBA Bantamweight Championship fight coming up live from Atlantic City on Wide World. Let's get a report right now as we go there. Here's Al Michaels.
All right, Chris, it'll be Jeff Chandler, the world champion, the WBA Bantamweight champion, defending his title against Richard Sandoval, who is undefeated. Had a brilliant amateur career, did Sandoval, and he is undefeated in 22 fights as a professional. Jeff Chandler, I know most fighters like to say they don't get the respect they think they deserve. We've heard Larry Holmes say it. We've heard Marvin Hagler say it. But I think when Jeff Chandler talks about the fact that he does not get the respect he deserves, he may be right. He's the bantamweight champ. That's a lower weight class, so he doesn't get a lot of the publicity. He doesn't fight for the purses that the other fellas do. But here's a man who won the title back in 1980 and has successfully defended it 9 times. He tries to make it 10 today against Richard Sandoval on Wide World of Sports, which is coming up at the top of the hour about 20 minutes from now. So we'll have it for you live from Atlantic City. Chandler against Sandoval for the WBA World Bantamweight Championship. Let's go back to Long Island now and Chris Schenkel.
Okay, thank you, Al. Chandler, tremendous champion. Sandoval undefeated.
Chris, does Sandoval have a chance against Chandler?
Sure he does. Good punching power. Chandler's cute, however. I did his last 2 fights, and he's a spoiler.
Chris, the great field today. 160 men went to the starting gate. Cash, 53rd place, 203, 210. Here's some of your top players. Salvino, fair out of the slump. Gonzalez ready for the Firestone, the national champ in 8th. Randy Stoughton bowled very well. Dave Buff straight down. Mats Carlson from Sweden up there again. Straight shooter Knippel. Local Schultes up there. Kent Wagner steady. Fred Jasky up there. Farmer Miller champion. The Showboat champion. Sliker right up there. Tommy Hudson. Rob Comito. Jimmy Pritch Jr., who was the beneficiary of Don Genalo's bad count. Sam Macarone. Jim Miller. In the 24th place is Jack Milne from Paramus.
All right, nearby Paramus, and this man has bowled a lot of games in that area as he has on Long Island, and he came up with a 225 to 198 victory over Don Genalo to get into the final match against Mike Durbin. Ernie Schlegel.
A lot on the line for Ernie in this match. More than just the top prize.
The 3-pin.
Schlegel playing around the first arrow, gets up the line a little quickly and a little anxious, and he just yanks it straight onto the nose. He breaks it down. Watch, he had the 3-10 standing. 6-pin goes to the sideboard and drives out to 10. An easy spare.
Spare for Schlegel. And now Mike Durbin, 42 years old, 17 years PBA. He's the current president, 12 titles. Does very careful preparation before he takes a step on the approach.
4-step delivery, just as nice a style as you'd ever want to see. Durbin with that shoulder high arm swing, deep knee bend, tremendous extension through the shot. And as our statistician Larry Lobb noted, that Durbin was just zeroed the last 2 days up there. He doesn't throw as much hook as some of the players, but he has just that perfect blend of accuracy and power. He expects a big game out of him on the championship hair. 3rd appearance this year. Yet to win here in '84. High hit and a 3-10. Mike Durbin with a 3-10 needs to get that ball across lane and get that ball lodged between the 3-pin and the 10 pin. Get the ball over in this area on the right-hand side of the 3 pin and drive, let the ball bounce right into the 10. Durbin, an excellent spare shooter.
Too far to the left. And for Durbin, it's an open frame, Mike Jr.
Durbin just catches a little bit too much of the 3 pin. He's going right down the center of the lane, and the ball just breaks very sharply and doesn't deflect into the 3 pin too much, into the 10 pin. He catches too much 3 pin. He has opened the door for Schlegel early in the match.
Second frame, spare up. Jumping on the opportunity, Ernie Schlegel.
Just a smooth roll, medium hook on that Schlegel ball. Look at that, it sets up right into the 1-3, drives out the 5 and 9. All the pins eventually ended up in the pit. Schlegel, 12-pin lead, can extend to 22 if he can strike here. He hasn't been in this position in almost 4 years, Chris. Needs a victory.
Yes, won 2 of them in 1980, and that's it. But a big earner.
What a change in attitude. What a change in his on-the-lane profile, Chris. He's just changed everything. He's fast. He's excited. That he's calm. He's trying to keep Durbin off balance.
Mike needs to rebound. Shooting in the 3rd frame following an open. All right. Man has a lot of concentration, has a very fine family. Mike Jr., Matthew, and Christine. Mike and his wife, Debbie.
There's Matthew, age 12, Chris, who had spring break this week. He says he comes out to coach his daddy. And I asked him who's going to win tomorrow. He says, my daddy, I just hope he bowls a good game. I says, well, it's more important that he wins, as Durbin blows in that thumb hole just to get a nice, relaxed feel. Needs a strike to cut Schlegel's lead down to 12 pins.
High hit, leaving 6-10. This is the championship game in the Long Island Open.
Here's Durbin having trouble on the left-hand lane. He's right down the second arrow, but this lane seems to break a little sharper at the back end. He's been through the nose twice. Mike Durbin, who is in trouble early in the match. Chris, we'll see if he can come back after this message from our sponsors.
While we're away in the 4th frame of this championship match, Ernie Schlegel with a strike, making it 3 in a row. He's going against the tournament leader, Mike Durbin, 32-pin lead.
Ernie's starting to take a little more time, but he's closing in on regaining that Firestone eligibility. He leads by 32.
4-pin for the man who hasn't won in nearly 4 years. Has to be thinking of that as his wife.
Ernie keeping it in play. When you have a big lead like that, you still have to stay aggressive against a competitor like Durbin. Simple spare the 4-pin.
Whoa! He stuck at the line, nearly went over it. And apparently stuck in the thumb hole, too.
Well, Durbin has the right-hand lane zeroed. He hit solid in the 1st frame, hit light, but struck in the 3rd frame. The key is going to be stay zeroed on the right and make the adjustment on the left.
Sliding by and leaving the 2-5.
And as Durbin slides by, we have Don Genalo, who just came off the last match out there. Don, what seems to be the situation from the outside line on the championship pair?
At the start of the match, the left lane seemed to be a little bit tighter, so I moved a little bit right, and the shots I threw the second game against Ernie, I just pulled a little bit too much. Came through the nose.
All right, that's performance by the tournament leader is Don Genalo, who was in 2 matches before his hometown fans.
That seems to be the same trouble, Don, that Durbin has had in his first 2 frames. What suggestion can you make for him to get in the pocket on the left-hand lane?
I would say just maybe move just a hair left and be a little firmer with the ball to hold the line.
All right, thanks, Don. Good performance this week. Let's see what Durbin does.
Don Genalo, whom you just heard from, $6,000. The loser of this match you're watching now, $82.50. The winner, $16,000.
And Durbin must have been listening to Janello's whisper in his ear as he made that little move to the left, a little extra speed, and drove all 10 pins in the pit.
Schlegel now, spare working, 6th frame. Man in red coming out of the chute today and eliminating Don Genalo with the 225 to Janello's 198.
Here's a key frame for both Schlegel and Durbin. Durbin has been in the winner's circle many times. Schlegel hasn't seen it in 4 years, and he can put Durbin in a position where it'd be almost impossible to recover from if he can strike here in the 7th. If he doesn't, the door is still wide open.
Garden City Ball. We've been coming here since 1963 and always get the friendly hosting of proprietor Buddy Russell.
Ernie Schlegel right up the 2nd arrow, puts one of the nails in the coffin for Durbin, and has put Durbin in a must situation. 7th frame, he trails by 43.
And that's a double for Mike Durbin, cutting the lead to 33 pins. Now he'll be shooting in the 8th frame on the left lane.
8th frame coming up, Durbin, a key shot. Durbin has a possible 236 if he can strike out. Right now, Ernie Schlegel through 7 frames is going at a 229 pace. It's not over yet, but this is an important shot for Durbin.
Watching some of the reasons why this youngster's dad has won 12 PBA titles. Matthew Durbin's dad, Mike, going against Ernie Schlegel, who has a double up, now shooting in the 8th, leading by 23 in the championship game.
Ernie Schlegel going to take his time, uses that semi-fingertip grip, buries those fingers, gets that thumb all the way down solid in the thumb hole, spreads that index finger for control.
Certainly one of Ernie Schlegel's better performances in all the years that he's been a pro, Bo.
You're right, Chris. He's been in the pocket. He's kept himself in the match. He hasn't given the match away. Has a nice direction on that ball. Look at him guiding it a little bit with his right hand. He's got Durbin on the ropes. Right now, Schlegel going at a 239 pace. 9th frame, 33 pin lead. He cannot shut out Durbin, though.
Two seven.
He had the 2, 4, 5, 7 standing there momentarily, and watch the action of the head pin as it comes across and knocks out the 4 and the 5. And especially the 5 is the important pin, because the 2-7 you can make by having the ball go just to the left of the 2 pin, driving in the 7. Now Ernie needs to make this spare to keep Durbin under control. This match is going right to the 10th frame.
Lesson on how to convert splits here at the Garden City Bowl.
Big shot for Schlegel here as he converts that 2-7 and keep the pressure on Durbin. The situation is this right now as he guides that shot right between him. For Durbin, he can go 236. Schlegel is working at a 237 pace.
Professional.
He has a chance to come back and take it all, Chris. Remember the great performance of Earl Anthony 4 years ago here when he came back against Gil Sliker. He was out of the match and then struck 6 times in a row to sneak up and win the match from Sliker. The same thing could happen here with Durbin. Durbin, with his strike here, would cut Schlegel's lead down to just 11 pins and at least force him to mark to win the title. But he must have this one.
Two-time Firestone champion.
Oh, he made a game run, Chris, but it's going to be short. The look on his face, that disconsolate look, tells the story. And there's Ernie Schlegel. He knows who won this match.
Mike is eligible for the Firestone, and Ernie Schlegel will once again be back in that prestigious event, Riviera Lanes in Akron, Ohio, 2 weeks from today.
Durbin off to just a slow start. It was the left-hand lane that killed him, Chris. He struck in the right-hand lane, missed on the left in the second, struck on the third on the right, missed in the fourth, and then again in the 10th. He struggled on the left.
.214 for PBA President Mike Durbin. Looking at the winner, we'll have his final score for you, and he'll be getting a check for $16,000. Durbin, $8,250. Is he happy? Ah, yes. Being congratulated by Harry Smith, Bud Fisher, Larry Lickstein. Well, we'll be back. Final score and the winner following this. Happy winner, Ernie Schlegel, 237. Roy Olson is here. Buddy Russell, proprietor, and Catherine Schlegel. In the meantime, let's go to Nelson and Mike Durbin.
Thank you, Chris. Undoubtedly a happy winner, Ernie Schlegel. But, Mike, you're a bit disconsolate. But, you know, the left-hand lane had to be the big difference.
Well, in practice, Bo, the lane was tighter. And in between, when I practiced and came over, it broke down. And it faked me out for the first 2 frames. And then when I moved in another board deeper, I had it lined up. I had a chance, but I just made a bad shot in the 10th frame. Ernie bowled well the whole match. He deserved to win.
Well, Ernie was playing a much farther outside line than you were. You're more down the second arrow, Mike, and I'm sure the characteristics of the lanes are different when you're playing the inside and the out. And you made the adjustment, but you have to give Ernie credit. He stayed hung in there the match. He bowled at a much quicker pace than he had ever bowled before, and definitely kept the pressure on you.
Yeah, he's speed record. Speedy Ernie, we'll call him from now on. Well, you know, it's tough when you're in the 5th frame when you're down by 30 or 40 pins, and I was in the situation there where every shot was a must strike, and I was able to get 4 of them, but I couldn't get 2 more.
Mike, a great performance. I'm sure you'll be back. Chris, you have the champ.
Greater performance by Ernie Schlegel, who was born in Manhattan, New York City. Roy Olson has a map of Long Island. Roy?
Congratulations, Ernie. On behalf of the Nassau Bowling Proprietors, we're proud to have you as the Garden City champion.
Thank you very much.
And Buddy Russell with a nice check, Buddy.
Also, congratulations, Ernie. You certainly made it a colorful week for us. I have a check here for $16,000, which I'm sure the lady...
Was the Firestone, Ernie, Firestone on your mind while you're bowling?
Well, no, it was on my own mind about 5 weeks ago in Cleveland when Rick Sajak bumped me from the bubble, so I knew it was time to win again.
Did Catherine have anything to do with the shade of red?
No, my coach did. my coach and caddy, Mr. Al over here, he's been told me to wear red all the way today because that's the way I bowled. So I listened to him, and he helped me all the way.
Catherine, I congratulate you.
Thank you very much. All I can say is dreams really do come true.
Okay, Ernie, congratulations again. Nice performance. Ernie Schlegel is the winner, 237 to 214, winning the Long Island Championship. The Professional Bowlers Tour has been brought to you by Midas, with over 1,200 Midas muffler and brake shops from coast to coast, and by True Value Hardware Stores. The more you've got to do around your home, we've got what it takes. Today's program was produced by Joel Feld, directed by Norm Samet, technical director Bob Bernthal, associate director Kim Belton. This is Chris Schenkel along with Nelson Burton Jr. saying so long from Garden City, New York. Coming up next, ABC's Wide World of Sports featuring the WBA World Bantamweight Championship, Jeff Chandler versus Richard Sandoval, live from Atlantic City. The United States Weightlifting Championships from York, PA, and a salute to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the new all-time NBA scoring leader. Travel arrangements made through a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. Nobody knows Hawaii like United. This has been an ABC Sports Presentation.